Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us locally on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park, and Verizon 32 in Bethel Park, and everywhere from Nemacolin all the way up to Cranberry, Wexford, and everywhere in between. Got a lot of great feedback when we were at the fights. So for all you new fans and the ones that have been watching us, hello tonight. I can't remember all your names, about 10, 15 people, and the Donnelly family was all behind us at the boxing. They said they loved the show, and they said we're a little bit funny at times, so I appreciate that. I want to give a shout-out to the receptionist, secretary, and executive, whatever, Yolanda. Hello. We'll see you tomorrow. She always has a good word to say. She calls me the jazz and sports guy. So hello to you, and I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner next to me, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Zach Brenner.
USA.
I don't know what that's about. That's where we live, but thanks, Zach. And we start with what's on your mind, and we're going to do that right now with Zach Brenner. What's on your mind, Zach?
Well, Al Levine, the talking machine. Obviously, whenever I come out and chant USA, hysterically, Smoking Jim Frazier, there's a soccer match taking place tonight in Canada. I believe it's going to kick off at about 8 p.m. for the U.S. women's national soccer team as they make a quest for the World Cup. I'm talking about it right now because I know No Show Harkins is not in the control room right now, so he probably never is going to see this. So I just talked a little bit.
He's actually at some event with the Outlaws or something. He's supporting them.
But what's really on my mind tonight, folks, and no, it's not the Pirates. I'm sure you're going to get a healthy dose of those battling buccos as the show progresses here. It's the number 23. That's what's on my mind tonight, folks. Two number 23s. The first one hails from good old city of Prayer, Clareton, PA, and that's none other than Tyler Boyd, who has now been charged with DUI in Jefferson Hills the other night. And I couldn't be more upset and frustrated with this young man. You were a potential first-round draft pick, second round draft pick at worst, and you get caught drinking and driving. He's not even old enough to drink yet, Smoking Jim Frazier. Wow. So he's in a little bit of a pickle there. And the thing that hurts most for Mr. Boyd is the officer that got him in Jefferson Hills is notorious for he cannot be bought. He cannot be bribed. He makes no deals. So Tyler Boyd's going to get the book thrown at him in Jefferson Hills. So stay in Clareton, that number 23. The other number 23 that I want to talk about tonight, folks, is LeBron James, and why I believe that, you know what, this is going to be the first time in a while, Smoking Jim Frazier, that even if the Warriors win tonight, LeBron James has a really great chance for being named the MVP of the final series. For one reason and one reason only. This thing would be a sweep. It'd be over if LeBron James wasn't on the court. That's how abysmal Cleveland's been, the rest of the team. You know, LeBron James is the only highlight reel material for Cleveland since Love and Irving went down. But, you know, and the last thing, folks, is I want to talk about the distraction that's in Canada and that's now coming back to America and Michael Samms. I said it in 2013 when he was named the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, that I believe that it was a little bit too early to buy into the hype with this man. He's what Smoking Jim likes to call a tweener. He's not really big and strong and fast enough to be a D lineman, and he's really not talented or skilled enough to be a linebacker. So where you fill in on the field is beyond me. I guess that's why he's not on the field. But he subsequently got booted and went to Canada to try to play in the CFL. And somebody told him that he couldn't play or whatever. He went, potted in his hotel room, and flew back to the States. So that has nothing to do with this man's orientation, which caused the big stir when he came out of the closet back in 2013. But what the moral of the story is Michael Samms cannot play football at the level required to play football on Earth. And that's what's on my mind tonight, folks.
I only counted 4 things on your mind, Zach, so not too shabby. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind? And I heard you were going to give a shout-out.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
it's coming at you.
You got to see Levine. My old option quarterback days coming back at you. But, hey, shout-out for Al Levine from Katy. from Duke's Rib House. I was there for lunch today, and I
A
believe
business
that's her name.
meeting.
Yeah, I believe that's her name.
Katie Ann,
yeah.
actually.
Katie Ann. She took care of us at the last Pittsburgh Sportsline show. She's looking good as usual, and I said I'd give a shout out to her, to you, Al Levine, the talking machine.
I know that's not what's on your mind. Thanks, Smoking Jim.
But what's on my mind is, and I'll be real brief. Is,
Why are you going to be brief? Zach took about 4 minutes. You could have the same.
But some of the greatest athletes in the WPIL history has played at Clairton High School, and I can't really remember any graduate of Clairton High School in the NBA, NHL, MLB, or the NFL, and a lot of the reasons for that is most of the guys from Clairton get caught up in either women and wine, and it kind of ruins their career, which led me to Tyler Boyd, outstanding young man who Little Z had already mentioned was picked up for underage drinking and a DUI charge. And I don't know right now if this is the beginning of the end of the Clairton curse sneaking up and biting Tyler Boyd in the butt. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. I can see why you mentioned certain communities and why you're not popular in certain communities. And I just say, why can't we all get along and pray for the young man instead of dumping on him, that he does change his ways and gets a second chance?
Dumping on him? It was stupid, utterly stupid. Seriously, Levine, that's utterly stupid.
How old is he?
19.
He's 20 years old.
Okay, is anybody here that's been 20 years old, even you, Zach, along,
You
it's
know,
like
and
11 years ago, done anything stupid?
And I think all of us at one time were 20 years old and did things that we wish we wouldn't have done.
You know what? No man at this table was ever garnering the kind of accolades that young man intention is getting on the football field. So no, for that being said, no, there's no.
How does that
excuse for
make
it. It's
anybody
unacceptable.
different?
It's unacceptable because he's right now. He knows the spotlight's on him. He knows there's no reason to be. You already know, Smoking Jim, that it's just an insult for him to even show up in Jefferson Hillsborough right now.
Right.
He's just asking for it. So then, not only does he go over to Jefferson Hillsborough, but he also knows that he's not old enough to drink, has a couple drinks, and then gets behind the wheel and drives. No, it's unacceptable, Levine. It's unacceptable. A player that talented and that smart on the football field to be that stupid off the field is unacceptable.
I gotta agree with Lil Z.
Well, you guys in the sandbox, I like your passion on certain things. It's very selective. So the next time there's domestic abuse, instead of you guys laughing some of it off, no matter who they are, and saying you take them on a team, I hope you feel the same way. Because I get a little fired up because I appreciate that passion, but I don't see it when somebody else is. And you're telling me, yeah, they should get a second chance. And I say no chance on that.
Can I ask you one question, Al Levine?
You can ask me two.
And Chip can, and not to cut in on what's on your mind.
We
But
didn't even
speaking
get
of
to it
domestic violence,
Yes.
domestic violence was initially written up to protect the weaker sex. But there was a WNBA couple who was married.
Brittany Griner.
And they both got hit with domestic violence charges when they got in a fight with each other. How can that be?
Welcome to America today.
There should not be a double standard, Jim, and I think that's what you are trying to pass. There should not be a double standard.
You're reaching
It should be
so
dealt
far.
with the same way, whether you're a man or a woman.
I just want to know, where is Mrs. Frazier at? Dorothy, where are you? Because your son's saying all this kind of stuff, and I know if you and your husband heard this and watched the show, you might not be so protective of little Jimmy.
And you know what, Levine? I would if Tyler Boyd wasn't the stud on the football field that he was, I wouldn't be so disappointed. You know what? He is a young man. He is human. But as Smoking Jim alluded to, there is a curse and a stigma that comes with being an all-star coming out of Clairton. Nobody's made it, like us Still Valley guys. So, with that being said, I just feel that he knows going into it what the rivalry, what the standing is, where not to be, where to be. You know, come to Homestead, come to Munhall. Don't go to Jefferson Hills. They don't want you there to begin with. They didn't want to merge the schools when they tried to merge Clairton with TJ. So, that just goes to be said.
I would suspend him for 2 games.
Well, we're not even talking about what you two would do, all right? I've had enough of it. So
Moving forward.
I'm looking for consistency. I'll play the film back on a lot of these tapes, and I'll see the hypocritical statements without even digging very deep. All right, we're moving on. It's Chip's time for What's on Your Mind, Chip?
Well, thank you, Alan, and my esteemed colleagues to my left. But first thing on my mind is we crowned a champion last night. The Chicago Blackhawks have become the dynasty that the Pittsburgh Penguins have miserably failed at becoming. So congratulations to the Chicago Blackhawks. And I just want to go out on a limb, and I feel that there's going to be another champion crowned this evening. But what's on my mind this evening has to do with Major League Baseball. And, of course, it doesn't have anything to do with my beloved Buccos, and we'll go into detail about them a little later in the show. But it's about, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game and the mockery that's being made out of the process for selecting the players that play in the game. Now, here is what the rules are as far as being able to vote for the All-Star Game is that for every email account that you have, you're entitled to vote 35 times for each player. So, that being said, the Kansas City Royals last year much were in the same position the Pirates were in 2013. They had not been to the playoffs in 27 or 28 years, and they made a run. They made it to the World Series. And the city of Kansas City was reborn. The people fell in love with baseball again. Well, for this year's All-Star Game, right now, 8 of the starting positions seven of the 9 starting positions in the American League are all Kansas City Royals because the Kansas City Royals fans have started a program where everybody's creating emails for them, accounts for themselves, and they are voting to put their players on. So instead of playing a true all-star game where you have the all-stars from each league playing one another, you're going to have the Kansas City Royals playing the National League All-Stars. And I think that's really unfair to the other players that are quite amazing athletes throughout the rest of the American League. And the only American League player that is on the starting lineup is Mike Trout, who arguably may be the best player in baseball right now. So, I think, because there's this injustice going on, of course, what we should do is change the rules. I mean, we need to change everything. Somebody gets hurt by a flying baseball bat, and everybody wants to completely change the rules. And somebody trips over first base, and we want to make, we want to do something else. And I just
What about home plate?
Well, the home plate is pretty well level to the ground. It's not raised like the regular bases, so it's real hard to trip over it.
No, but I mean the sliding in and
Right.
how you're allowed to
block
a plate.
So,
They
the
changed
All-Star Game is a game that is supposed to be for the fans, okay? And, they have a voting system in place, and the Kansas City Royals fans are taking advantage of it. And does Major League Baseball have the right to change the way players are selected into the All-Star Game? As much as I think it's ridiculous that the Kansas City Royals are going to field the full team for the All-Star Game, at this moment, this could all change. I don't think that they should change it because the game is an exhibition game and it is for the fans. And if the fans vote those 7 players in as starting players, then that's what the fans want to see, then that's what they should get. Nobody else should have any other say in who is selected for the team. Now, the thing I think that's ridiculous about the All-Star Game is that the All-Star Game should have any kind of impact over which team gets home field advantage in the World Series. I think that's ridiculous. The All-Star Game, it's a chance in the middle of the season to give the players a break and to let the top stars from each league have a game and play against one another for one evening. And I think, it really is an enjoyable evening. Why that should have something to do with who gets home field advantage in the World Series, the way I feel, home field advantage in the World Series, there's 2 teams playing. The team with the best record gets home field advantage. I think that would be reasonable. It seems logical to me, but apparently that's not the case. So if you ask my opinion, and this is once again just my humble opinion, don't change anything. If all the Kansas City Royals end up on the All-Star team, then that's what the fans want, so be it.
Sounds like another nail in the baseball coffin.
A little disclaimer. If you just watch the show for the first time, I know in this social media and everything, there's different haters that are out there. All you have to do is look to my left, your right, and you'll see two guys that try to make a mockery out of the great American sport, baseball.
The Daytona
And
500?
there's actually millions and millions of people that are actually baseball fans for a whole
Hundreds
season.
of millions.
Right.
And they're hiding in the closet.
Well, we don't know about that because I don't want to fire you up about another subject, so we're not going to talk about closets there for you because I know you'd be close on that one.
Yeah, Michael Sams has nothing to do with this.
Exactly. So these guys, if you like what they're saying or you don't, give a call because that would pump them up. 412-831-3304. And just ask for Zach and Smoking Jim and their opinion on baseball. And I was going to talk, no, I'm not talking baseball. We'll do a segment on that sometime when we can interrupt Zach again. We'll do that.
Absolutely.
And what's on my mind is we had a great night of boxing at the Sokol Club in Southside. Smoking Jim had trouble finding it. We told him to be there at 4 o'clock. He was there at 5 to 7. Other than that, he was in rare form. Somehow I just watched the video, and I was checking some of it out. A lot was cut out. I don't understand why. So we'll do a little investigation. But thanks to Rich Donnelly for putting on a great event. His wife, Melissa. His whole family was sitting right behind us, and relatives and everything else. And they had a great time. They enjoy our show. The hospitality was there. The boxers were great. The coaches. Northside, I was told to say by Coach Jack Mook, got their butts kicked. Northside won and kicked the butts of Southside. They only won 3 out of the 13 fights. And Jose Carabala, he had a great performance from his fighters too. And it was nice to see a lot of the young fighters. We saw Steve Cunningham's son come out to our show while we were taping the boxing. He already looks so slick and well trained that it's just unbelievable to see somebody. I think he's only 9 years old, maybe 10. So that was just awesome. Great fights during the night. We also had a historic event in the last fight with JT, the Brick Bracket, and our man Eric Sidnor. They fought without headgear for the first time in over 30 years. In an elite class, they called it. And they both agreed not to fight with headgear. And the sad part about it is JT ended up getting an inadvertent headbutt, and they had to stop the fight due to injury. His eye was
I think he
really
got punched
tore up.
in the face, Levine. I'm going to have to watch that replay.
Well, I didn't get a chance to look at the replay on it since there were 13 fights. I would not have made it tonight, but it does look like we got a great job on the camera. I set it up. Zach helped to balance it and fine-tune it a little bit. Aaron Ward actually gets an assist since we had some difficulty with the mic, and we solved that issue thanks to Dave Cable, Bethel Park, for letting us venture out to Southside Showdown 2. You have to check it out. It may be up on Saturday night or Friday night fights, and you'll enjoy the boxing in our area. They also started a new Gold Badge tournament. This will be a series starting in July, and we'll be doing one in Braddock on July 18th. So stay tuned for some more boxing. Smoking Jim said it's a really small gym and it's pretty safe there during the afternoon. So we'll be doing it about 7 o'clock at night.
In Braddock?
No, I'm sarcastic.
It's going to be tight in there. I don't know where we're going to be.
Well,
we're going to be on the
You're going
street.
to fight your way in and fight your way out.
We're honored to be a part of it, so we'll do the best we can. And I'll send Smoking Jim and Zach in there first, and I have no fear. And that's what's on my mind.
Great job, Al.
And before I turn it over to the Smoking Jim, I wanted to give a shout out to Ryan. That was the best one slice of roasted garlic and sausage pizza that I've had.
That was good.
And I'm glad the boys got to enjoy the pepperoni. And he said, if you guys ever want to mix it up with like Sicilian pizza or some other combination of pizza, let him know at Olive Oil's Pizzeria, 412-831-1900. And you can call them right now and say the talking machine in Pittsburgh Sports Line said, get your pizza there and hoagies and everything else. Thank you. And thanks for being a sponsor, Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Now we're going to some of our segments here. how about some fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And just to piggyback on you, the North Side did a nice job by beating the South Side. And we know that the East Side will beat the North Side every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But what's on my mind?
Oh, another disclaimer. They're doing North Side and South Side. So what category are you in? I heard it's South Side.
Stay away from the beast.
I heard it's South Side. I heard East is South Side. By his quietness, he's with South Side. They got their butts kicked. Next.
Fiction and fact from Spoken.
Oh, that was the fiction segment. We got fact coming up.
Fact coming up. But we're going back to 2011, and I was at the Stowe Rocks championship game where they lost, and after the game, I talked to the coach from Clairton, and at that time, the greatest player probably in the state already signed a scholarship to Pitt. He was a senior named Trenton Coles. He was a two-time state 100-meter and 200-meter dash champion, prototype size as far as a receiver or defensive back. He even kicked extra points for Clairton. And after the game, another victory by Clairton, I asked Coach Nola when I caught him in the locker room, and I says, Coach, what was the difference between you and an undefeated Stowe Rocks team who was ranked number 2 in the state at that particular time? He says, the difference is we got Tyler Boyd and they don't. And I was like, who? Because, you really never heard of Tyler. Was only a junior then, but Clairton had so many great players. And Trenton Coles was a guy that was getting the most of the ink because he was a fast guy, one of the fastest guys in the country, and I already signed with Pitt. But the next year, there was no doubt about who Tyler Boyd was for a career. His record at Clairton was number 1. He won 4 WPIL championships. His record as a 3-year starter was 63-1. He scored 117 touchdowns. As a senior running back, he ran for over 2,500 yards and 43 touchdowns. He was MVP of the Big 33 game versus Maryland, and he scored 5 different ways. Opening kickoff, he went 91 yards for a touchdown. He threw a 68-yard halfback pass. He ran for a 4-yard touchdown, and he caught 2 touchdown passes of 15 and 6 yards. So this is a young man, Tyler Boyd, who Coach Nola recognized as a very early age was head and shoulders above all the other great players that came through that program. And next year, Tyler Boyd has a very good chance of entering the NFL draft after his junior season and being a first-round draft choice. So that's my fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. I just have a question, though. I'm sort of.
I'll drink to that.
No. What if he's suspended now?
Well, if he's suspended for the first couple of games, which I would do if I was coach, I was suspending for the first couple of games. I think they can beat Youngstown State without him.
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know.
sure about that.
The Penguins gave us a hard time a couple years ago.
Yes,
That's how you forgot Paul Christ isn't coaching.
We're hopeful here. All right, we'll talk.
Maybe you can bring Wisconsin down and take a dump against Youngstown State.
All right, let's go to Chip's trivia time.
Thank you very much, Alan. And got some interesting little items here, and I always like to throw my good friend Alan here a little bone. But now on June 10th, 1921, Babe Ruth became baseball's all-time home run leader when he hit his 120th home run off of Cleveland's Jim Bagby in the 3rd inning.
That's awesome.
21. That was a record that stood till 1974 when the great Hank Aaron passed the Babe. I love him, Jim. And June 15th in 1938, another feat that I think will never be accomplished again happened. Johnny Vandermeer pitched the 2nd consecutive no-hitter. The previous game he had a no-hitter. He had back-to-back no-hitters in consecutive starts. That's a record I think that will never be equaled. Also, on June 12th, 1970, in a monumental day in Pittsburgh Pirate history, and then it's also a infamous day in sporting history, and none other than Doc Ellis of the Pirates hurled a 2-0 no-hitter in the first game of a doubleheader against the San Diego Padres. Doc Ellis walked 8 batters and hit a batter, and Willie Stargell hit 2 home runs for a Pirate victory. Now, the thing that's unique about this game is that years later, Doc Ellis went around and told all the sports reporters that he was under the influence of LSD when he pitched the no-hitter, which, of course, none of the reporters believed. And, that's what the doc said.
About it.
But, so theoretically, June 12, 1970 was the day that Doc Ellis pitched a no-hitter high. June 11th, 1990, Nolan Ryan pitched his, then at the time, record 6th no-hitter of his career, which he followed up shortly afterwards with his record 7th career no-hitter. I don't believe there's any other pitcher that has more than 4, and I do remember the one of most significance that had 4 no-hitters was one of Alan Levine's favorite pitchers of his childhood was Sandy Koufax. Another interesting little tidbit here, in 1991, June 16th, a rookie pitcher named Andy Ashby, somebody of little or no note, struck out the side in the 4th inning against the Cincinnati Reds on 9 pitches. It was the 12th time in National League history that this has been accomplished, and the first time by a Phillies pitcher. But that is a pretty impressive statistic to strike out the side on 9 pitches. And because of my love of the game of baseball and my dislike for the pitch count, which is something that I have talked about ad nauseum over the years past, thank you to my friend Alan here for posting a post of an accomplishment that was made on June the 14th, 1975 by none other than one of my favorite pitchers of all time, Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan pitched 13 innings. He struck out 19 batters in the 13 innings. And his pitch count for that game was 235 pitches. That's more pitches than are thrown probably in 3 games by most major league starters at this stage. And the funny part at the end of that was his arm didn't fall off, and he went on to be one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Now, speaking of greatest pitchers of all time, the awards given out for the American League, Best Pitcher in the American League, Best Pitcher in the National League, and it's called the Cy Young Award. And Cy Young is known as the greatest pitcher in baseball history, 511 victories. Well, I stumbled across some information while I was researching some baseball history, as I'm wont to do, and there was a pitcher that is the 2nd greatest pitcher in baseball history. His nickname was the Big Train. His name was Walter Johnson. And just to briefly highlight some of his career accomplishments, Walter Johnson pitched for 21 years in the major leagues. He pitched in 802 games. He pitched 5,914 innings. His one-loss record was 417 wins and 279 losses. His career earned run average, 2.19. That's an absolutely amazing ERA over a period of 800 games. He had the major league record for 55 years of 3,508 strikeouts against 1,363 walks. That record stood for 55 years until it was broken in 1983 by 3 pitchers. First by Nolan Ryan, second by Steve Carlton of the Phillies, and Gaylord Perry, which played for a host of other teams and may have been pitching for the Braves at that time. I'm not quite sure. Walter Johnson's other accomplishments, 110 career shutouts, the most shutouts by any pitcher in Major League Baseball history. He's 4th all-time in complete games with 531. I'm telling you what, there haven't been 531 complete games in this century pitched in baseball.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And, he had 12 20-win seasons. He had 10 of them in a row. that's getting pretty close to wrapping it up. And, Zach, I know, always ridicules me for my love of the Pirates and the love of baseball. But, when I was a child growing up watching the Pirates won the World Series in 1960. They won a World Series in 1971. They won one in 79. But during the decade of the 70s, there was two teams. There's actually three teams that won the National League Eastern Division. It was won 9 times by either the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Philadelphia Phillies. And the only other team that won the National League Eastern Division in that decade was the 1973 New York Mets. And last but not least, I did this one here for my good friend Jim Frazier. Anybody that's, I'm sure Alan will recognize this gentleman's name, but on June 16th, 1969, Brian Piccolo passed away from leukemia. The significance of Brian Piccolo was the running back mate to Gale Sayers, and they were the first, I believe, pair to become roommates of mixed race. And it was a very, very sad time, and anybody that's my age or close to it ever saw the movie Brian Song, you know how much of a tearjerker that was. But it was June 16th, 1969 that Brian Piccolo passed away. But that's my trivia for this week.
Great job, Chip. Great job.
You didn't mention that the Big Train was one of the first 5 Hall of Famers, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
The inaugural class.
Alan, I stand corrected. And he was not a unanimous pick into the Hall of Fame.
And nobody has been yet. So.
Nobody deserved it after that. That's for sure.
Thanks,
Tom
Jim.
Seaver claimed closest.
He deserved it.
You don't even know who he is.
Tom Terrific.
And that, folks, that's what you get here. Thanks. 412-831-3304. You can call in and talk personally to Smoking Jim about whatever he wants or whatever's on his whim, his latest whim. All right, Zach, I'm afraid to ask you a Z time. You covered 4 subjects on your initial. We got to have a ruling because this cheating is getting too far with you. Z time, 1 subject, if it's possible.
All right, Olivine, the talking machine. We'll stick it to 1 subject, and it won't be baseball, the Buccos, or the All-Star game.
You don't have to
baseball.
mention any of that. All you got to do is say the subject because you're actually adding stuff in each time you do that, and you think I don't catch on to that. These young bucks here, I don't know.
Well, folks, what I really want to talk about on Z Time is last week I told you a story about how Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, was risking potentially losing about $23 million by playing out his rookie contract. Well, guess what, Olivine, the talking machine? This just in. Russell Wilson went and took out the insurance policy on the upcoming season. So,
and who gives you the scoop on that?
Hey, we always defer to the CBA guy over there on the corner over there.
Not just CBA. Some common sense, and you got to protect your assets. Okay, that's part of it. See. Well, thanks for your 1 subject there, buddy.
Hey, thanks. That's it.
That's it?
All right, we're going to go to On Location. There was no location on Monday. It was a nice day off there, so enjoyed it. We're going to be at Duke's Rib House and Grill on Monday, and I don't know how to clarify this subject. Most of the people on our show are our featured guests. Smoking Jim's running his own show where he has a featured guest who they believe they're the only featured guest. Then he told me we're going to have about a dozen other featured guests that are having their 25th anniversary. So I can't keep track of it. Plus we got another 4 or 5 other guests. Smoking Jim, I have a quandary here, and don't even look it up because I got the dictionary. You're not even going to read it, but yeah. Thanks to Lois Brenner. You want to get the Funkin' Wagnalls? I'm not even bringing it out. What am I supposed to do except thank my co-host Smoking Jim for... Oh, well, wait a second. I didn't say for what. You might have just got your execution here. I've been asking him to try to share things and post things. Well, he stopped posting stuff on Pittsburgh Sportsline after a week. Got too tiresome. He stopped inviting people to our events because 100 was too much for him. Now he started reposting back to Pittsburgh Sportsline one thing, And now he's sharing stuff to a couple others. Now this is social media talk for a lot of you, so if you're lost, so is Smoking Jim. But somehow he's smart enough to be able to do it when there's a sweetie involved. So the investigation of Smoking Jim's sweeties will continue. Come out to the show at Duke's Rib House and Grill. Seriously, we have some good sports talk, great food there. And Smoking Jim did have the best double rack of ribs 2 weeks ago, but he left so fast I didn't see him eat it. But that's another story. Come on out. You're welcome there. In 2 weeks, we'll be at the Royal Place, back for another great time there, right on 88. Smoking Jim found it, 51 and 88. It's easy to find. We do boxing there, and we got a lot of guests coming there, Smoking Jim. So I hope you can pull one featured guest out of that group, please, if you can. And that's our on location report. Stay tuned for exploits, and I will post up the fights later tonight. So anybody interested in the boxing, you'll get to see it. And anybody that was a boxer that asked, I will get it to you. So that's it. Now I want to thanks. I have to at least mention a couple things about the Buccos because I've been a fan for a long time.
Is this the segment?
I'm doing what Zach Brenner does. We sort of meander into it, and then we say, oh,
Is that a
by
segue?
the way, this is our segment.
Oh, okay.
And as he interrupts like me, I appreciate that. It's respectful, so I got it.
Sorry.
We're going to talk a little Bucco talk.
Yes, sir.
And Manny Sanguian was a hero of mine.
Yes, sir.
And I did forget about the 38 innings that he caught of shutout baseball, which was quite a record back then. Well, now we just hit 42 shutout innings, and what Cervelli, he's caught 42 innings.
43.
Oh, is it 43?
Yes.
I must have read something wrong there.
No,
Thanks.
no,
They updated.
it's nothing in the bottom of the first.
You're giving us an update on the
Ooh.
Pirate game, okay?
Wow.
Yes, I am.
No, and that's quite an accomplishment because one of the reasons being is if the Pirate pitchers weren't pitching so well, the 5-game winning streak would not be there either. So it was great to have an offensive explosion last night, 11 runs. That's Smoking Jim and Zach mix. They missed that while we weren't working, so I understand that. They didn't even realize there's a 5-game winning streak. So these are some of the things that get lost on the ones that aren't fans or want to be fans.
There's a lot of
or
games.
will never be fans. But this was one of the ones out of 162 games that you should have watched because you would have saw Bucco baseball, and that was like scoring, more than 10 points in a football game. What's that, a touchdown?
Well,
and 2 points and 3
Way
points?
more
I was at
exciting.
the game last night, and the Pirates pounded the White Sox 11-0. 18 hits. The top 7 batters in the lineup had 2 or more hits, with the exception of Sean Rodriguez, who went hitless, and Francisco Liriano, who went hitless. But Francisco Liriano struck out 12. Pitched 7 innings, pitched 8 innings of shutout baseball.
2 hits?
He had a no-hitter going into the 5th. It was a great display of Pirate baseball. But, speaking of what the Pirates have done in the last 5 games, the last 5 games during this streak, they've had 4 shutouts, and they played an extremely exciting game Saturday evening with Garrett Cole on the mound, becoming the Major League leading pitcher with 10 wins. Right now, arguably, Garrett Cole is the number 1 pitcher in Major League Baseball, and he's
out of both leagues.
Yes, he's pitching lights out. But there's the entire staff is pitching lights out, and that leads me to a different point here because it wasn't like it was. I watched the game on Sunday afternoon, and watching the game, driving home from the event that I was at Sunday evening. Already on the radio, you've got the sports talk show host crying for the Pirates to trade Gregory Polanco for Cole Hamels. The Pirates have to trade for Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels pitched an amazing game on Sunday. Lost. He pitched, A.J. Burnett pitched 9 innings of shutout baseball.
Yeah.
Got a no decision. The Pirates won in the bottom of the
38 years old.
Yeah, in the bottom of the 11th. But, here's what the Pirates have right now. They've got a 5-man starting rotation. The number 5 man in their rotation is Jeff Locke. And Jeff Locke is a serviceable number 5 pitcher in the rotation. He's not a guy that is going to go out, that you can go out there and count on to shut down, but he's a guy that will battle, a guy that will keep the Pirates in the game.
You can get to the wild card with him.
Actually,
And
Smoking
if they
Jim,
do, then so be it.
they're
You know
the
what
first
I mean?
to interrupt our Smoking Jim buddy here, throwing the negative like Clareton stuff out there. For all you people in Clareton,
Love you.
Zach doesn't. He's being facetious. But
What
that's
do you
another
mean?
story.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the lovely city of prayer.
All right. Well, it's part of it. Smoking Jim, you're out of control. there.
getting back to the
Are these
Pirates and
Buccos
their
for
pitching
real?
staff.
That's what I want to know. Are they
They're
for
the
real?
Are
first
you
wild
kidding me?
card. They're in the first wild card position for you haters.
Are you kidding me?
The
Are you-
first wild
are
card,
you-
which has been around for years.
Are you kidding
What's
me?
wrong with you two?
So you know what?
What is wrong?
You know, the cry to
Skeptics.
trade for Cole Hamels. And I mean, if anybody wants to know how foolish of a statement that is to make, I want you to take a look at what the Pittsburgh Penguins have done in the last 5 years with this "we have to win now" mentality. They have traded away their entire farm system.
He doesn't even
They
watch
have
hockey.
backed them up. They've backed themselves up against the cap, where they're not even truly a top contender for the Stanley Cup next year.
Right.
The Pirates have rebuilt their complete farm system. Their major league team is as good as any team in baseball and has as good a chance
Took
as
20
anybody
years.
to win it all. They're ranked number 4 in the major leagues by ESPN this afternoon. So, you know what? The Pirates have a combination of it all. They have good defense. They have starting pitching that's pitching lights out. They've got an offense that can light it up on any given night. And they can also have an offense that can barely score 1 run a night. But if you're only scoring 1 run and your pitching staff has given up 0, that's what leads to 5-game winning streaks.
If
So right now, no changes. I don't think they need to make any changes at this point.
And now
Just
let's hear
keep
some
it going.
contrary opinions. Because all this yes stuff.
not
ahead.
any contrary opinions, but you have to forgive me, Chip. Like I said, it took 20 years to get to where we're at now, and I'm just a little, sorry if I'm just a little bit skeptical. What I really want to know from you, baseball experts over on the right, is
I'm far
compared
from
to the rest of the division, like break down how the rest of this the season is going to play out for the Pirates. How it's shaping up right now for in the division wise.
Well, I mean,
They're chasing St. Louis.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing that's happening with the Pirates right now is that since the Pirates went on this winning streak, and they've won 18 of their last, I believe, 23 games.
Yeah.
The St. Louis Cardinals have had the exact same record on the exact same night as the Pittsburgh Pirates. When we win, they win. When they lose, we lose. But to be honest with you, the wheels are falling off the St. Louis Cardinals. They've had a number of major injuries. It's going to catch up with them. We've got 13 games head-to-head against the St. Louis Cardinals, and that's where we're going to make up the ground that we need to make up to win the division, which, once again, in January, I made mention that the Pittsburgh Pirates would win, and I still stand by my story. They will win the division. The Pirates have as good a chance this year to win a championship as any team in Major League Baseball.
Well, the nice thing is to be able to talk about Pirates and baseball at this time because Smoking Jim and Zach gave up after the first game. So they have no credibility on this subject. And 20 years of losing, I understand that. I mean, he was in diapers. So when you're in diapers and your team's losing, you still have those memories. And it's hard to get rid of them. But part of it is when things do change, you have to recognize there is a change. I was a disgruntled fan for a long time. I waited a couple years till I saw some light at the end of the tunnel, and it wasn't that train. It was the cold train. So he's helping us out. And I'm a believer because guys learn to pitch. When Cole come up, he reminded me of a young Zach Brenner who I heard about. That he could play the game, but he only wanted to play it his way. And he'd get mad. And then all of a sudden somebody do something he didn't like, he'd get even more mad. And guess what? He was taken out of the game. And he couldn't play anymore. So now he learned how to pitch and control that anger. And he's focusing. He has the talent. He throws 97, 98. He'll even get up to 100. So he got all the talent, all the tools. And it's part of putting it together. Like me, I didn't believe the management. I'm not a huge Nutting fan, and there's many reasons why. But what I do respect is when you hire baseball people and they play the game the right way by getting it through your farm system and everything else, even though the naysayers go, oh, they're not going to do anything. Major League Baseball changed the rules because the Pirates were signing everybody in the minor leagues and pumping up all these players so they'd have somebody to bring up. Do they have players that have come through the system? Yes. So that's success.
And you know what? The Pittsburgh Pirates have become a destination, not a place to be exiled to. And speaking to Garrett Cole is developing. And if you're not watching what's going on here. You're watching the transformation of a young man who could throw the ball close to 100 miles an hour to becoming a major league pitcher. Saturday night, he didn't have his best stuff, but he fought, he battled. He kept the Pirates in the game. Ultimately, he won. So and that's the sign.
Contractually moving forward with this team, are all of those key players locked up? Are we in good shape for the next 3 or 4 years as far as like
yes.
Cole, McCutchen?
Yes.
Yes,
yes. We've got Cole for at least 3 more years. McCutchen's locked up for 6. Marte's locked up. We've got 6 years on Polanco. We've got Liriano for 2 more years after this year. We've got Neil Walker for this year and next year. Pedro Alvarez for this year and next year. And we've got prospects in the system that will replace them if we lose them.
Who's been the catalyst, would you say? Neil Huntington should take all the credit for most of that?
I'll tell you what, and then this will anger a lot of people. I think the person that needs to be given the most amount of credit is Bob Nutting, and I'll tell you the reason why. He hired a bunch of good baseball people, and then he stepped out of their way and let them do their jobs instead of trying to micromanage them. And that is the reason why this organization is headed in the direction it's going.
Hey,
you
know what, folks? Hate it or love it, the Pirates are back. And that's what I'm hearing from the right side. The Buccos are back. They're back.
Zach, by the time October rolls around, I'm going to have you wearing black and gold with a big old P on it.
I don't know about that. My only fear is I don't know how St. Louis is doing it. They have a lot of talent in their system. They suffered major injuries that if the Bucks had the same injuries, I don't know where we would be.
Well, and I will say this, you got to, if you're going to have to beat a team to become a division champion, I would want to have to beat the best team out there, and then the St. Louis Cardinals, hands down, are the best run organization in Major League Baseball. They are the blueprint that everyone else can follow. People are starting to copy what the Pirates were doing because look what they have done. Since 2010, we were the worst team in baseball with absolutely no prospects in our system. Since then, look where we're at.
That's a huge turnaround.
You
Definitely.
mean 2011?
2010, we won 57 games.
What you win in 2011?
72.
There's our baseball expert come out of the woodwork with nothing. Nothing again, I say.
72?
That ain't
No,
for all of you Gateway
that was
graduates.
an improvement of 15 games over the year before.
Chip,
Jim.
I was trying to tell him about math at Gateway. It's suspect. He said he graduated there. We're looking into his transcripts right now. We're not getting anything. Let's go to another segment. Zach, what's on it?
I think, given the fact that you guys are so excited that Chicago now has a dynasty for winning 3 championships in 6 years in hockey, they can't win a title to save their lives in baseball. But in hockey, Chicago's strong. And I just want to point out that
I predicted that win. Thank you.
The coach, Smoking Jim, their coach has been there for 6 years. He's won 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years. Joe Quenneville.
It's impressive.
And he's not known for being the most nicest guy or gentleman. He's a real in your face kind of guy. So sometimes. I just want to give a shout out to the Chicago Blackhawks. Basically, that what the Chicago has done, like they alluded to, is what I would have liked the Penguins to do, but they have kind of a different attitude over in the arena console with Lemieux and Burkle and company. They were going for broke, every single season. Smoking Jim Fraser,
Yeah, but we gave him credit for doing it. The players didn't produce, and the coach had one system that he was stubborn with. He wasn't flexible. Well, he did what we wanted. We wanted them to go all in. I was happy with it.
You know what the Chicago Blackhawks did is the talent that helped them to win the cup. People like Brandon Saad et al. They came up through their system. So what they didn't do is they didn't trade away all the people that they were highly talented prospects that they drafted for aging veterans that we rented. And now, what do we have to show for it?
But the thing is, I give them credit. They were all in to win it. We're from Pittsburgh. We believe in the champions. So the only thing you can be is disappointed.
Yeah.
Because they did what we wanted.
But when you look at the Blackhawks organization from top to bottom, the goaltending coach, Kenny Waite, He played 19 years in the NHL. They have assistant coaches that played 18, 17 years in the NHL. So the organization in Chicago has been, built way better than the
solid.
organization in Pittsburgh.
I noticed the Penguins made a move today, and it didn't get a lot of ink. But the Penguins hired a couple of years ago, while Bilesman was still here, they hired a former NHL coach, Jacques Martin, who's a very well-respected hockey man. He is being brought on as an advisor to the head coach, and will be behind the bench, I believe, this year to help Mike Johnson become better. Because, Mike Johnson, the first year as an NHL head coach was this past year. He coached in the minors his entire career. Maybe that could make a difference, but I think, really the thing that upsets me about the Penguins right now is, hearing stuff like Evgeny Malkin is unhappy, and you see the way he pouts, and because he doesn't get, he seems to think that Sid gets preferential treatment. And you know what? He's getting paid top dollar. He just needs to man up and play the game to the best of his ability and quit worrying about things that he shouldn't even be worried about.
I got a question for you guys. That I don't understand. Everybody knows I love hockey. Now, the basketball ratings is up over 14%.
Isn't that high?
The hockey ratings is 2.9.
Yeah.
Lower. How can we get more people interested in
Well,
watching hockey on TV?
Turn the TV on.
Major markets?
No, you know what? I can answer that question for you,
Turn it
Jim.
on.
What they have done with hockey
You're not.
is, in the 80s, the hockey was like, it was like fire wagon hockey. Their teams were, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky were scoring points like pinball machines. So they wanted to, get away from that. And in the mid-90s, the New Jersey Devils came in with their, with the shutting down the puck. So they grabbed, they held,
Neutral zone trap.
Neutral zone trap. Exactly, that was the word I was thinking of. Thanks, Zach. But so that led to Mario Lemieux becoming disillusioned and saying that the
garage
NHL
hockey.
became a garage league. So there were rules in place to stop obstruction. Okay. They're not being enforced. The referees never call it. To be honest with you, the game of hockey right now is kind of painful to watch because, what puts panties in the seat is people scoring. And the scoring is way down in hockey. Hockey needs to do something to induce some more enthusiasm into the game and to bring the fans back. But yes, hockey is suffering greatly right now. And, the lack of a real major television contract, they've got the NBC game occasionally, but they're just not getting the national exposure that the NBA, Major League Baseball, and professional football.
Nobody's
is the
getting
brand.
that. Nobody's getting that.
The National Football League prints money.
Smoking Jim, since you brought up the NBA, what kind of viewership were they getting before this 14%?
Well, like you said, I'm just talking in the finals.
Yeah,
okay.
and then they're up 14% over
Because
last
I think
year.
they get under 10% or so.
Yeah, you're right.
Their
right, except for the
viewership
finals.
is not really that big either.
Yeah.
Compared to your sport that you love, football.
Now,
The king.
not to
Football is the true king.
not to knock the Penguins too much, but from what I'm hearing, and I continue to hear about these Pirates, Smoking Jim, that the Buccas are back and the Penguins are now on the back burner. We all know how we feel about the Steelers. We're in it every year in our hearts. Even if we're not, we're still in it.
I'm in
We're
it. Even if you hate the coach, I'm with you guys. Even if you don't like Butler being put in because he's going to be similar to LeBeau
But
and all this stuff like that, and he should have never been in there smoking Jim
Like I
says.
touched
Even
on-
if they get D- and D+ every year, I'm a Steeler fan, so count me in.
So speaking that we've talked about Penguins, we've talked about the Pirates. Pittsburgh Steelers started minicamp today. Minicamp started with a bang. Marquise Pouncey and the young man named Gathers got into a fight at minicamp on Tuesday, and I'd love to see some fire happening in minicamp. I want to believe in this Pittsburgh Steelers team. The thing that my big question mark is, I am really curious as to what type of defense we're going to put on the field. There's just so many question marks from the people that have left, and you've got question marks with Jarvis Jones. Is
Too
he
slow.
an NFL outside linebacker? Ryan Shazier, is he an inside linebacker?
Good point.
You got Ken Dupree, Bud
Bud.
Dupree. We got Bud Dupree, who everybody says Looks like he's got all the tools, but you know what? You can take all the tools in the workshop, and you can't, you may
Play on
not
the
be able to
field.
make anything with it.
Yeah.
Are the Steelers going to be able to play Steeler defense this year? Offense, lights out, no question. It's the tops in the leagues. But what are we going to do defensively?
Before we go and crown either side of the ball, I think that the offense may not have the kind of success that it had last season. As you know, Smoking Jim,
Whoa.
with film and with our stud running back being suspended for the beginning of the season, that's a lot of teams are gonna lock in on Antonio Brown, and I'm not sure at wide receiver who's really ready to step up and seize the reins. So I look for that matchup in training camp. The wide receivers. I'm a lot more concerned on offense, like I said, because it's hard to maintain consistency year after year in this league. So I'm more concerned that they don't take a step back on offense. The defense can't get any more burnt than it's been getting. So
Oh, yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Yeah, but
They got too slow.
As
They're
much
still
as we
too slow.
as much as
all
we
over.
criticized the defense last year, it was a defense of a team who ended up with an 11-5 record.
Thanks to Dick LeBeau.
And
An easy schedule.
Well, you know what? I mean,
Thank you.
the one thing about professional sports is always going to be true. It's always in flux. There's always going to be change. And we got real comfortable having Dick LeBeau here for so long. But there was going to become a day when he was going to move on. And,
Well,
it's sooner than opposed to later.
I thought he should have still been around because you can have all the players in the world, but if they aren't that good, your scheme will not work.
Well,
And maybe he could have changed up things, but when you got players that can't tackle,
Good point.
And you know what,
that's one of the things that bothers me.
but
They weren't tackling.
that can't tackling thing that starts in college, and if you watch college football, the college football game scores are like basketball scores.
Chip,
You
and
know?
that's part of my point that they drafted these players. Smoking Jim keeps saying, "What were you, D+ this year now?" Okay, well that was an improvement, I thought.
No,
Big
1974 draft was a D+.
Well, sure. Just like when they signed Donnie Shell. Why would they sign Donnie Shell as a free agent?
And why isn't
There's
Donnie
a guy
Shell-
that should be in the
Why
Hall of
isn't he in
Fame.
the Hall of Fame? That's what I
right.
want to know.
And that's why we like talking our Steelers.
Real quick, how do you guys feel that tonight the Warriors have a chance to win their first NBA championship, but LeBron
Since
James
1975.
could leave with the MVP of the final series?
I'd give it to him.
And that would not be the first time that a player has won an MVP in a losing cause. And I read some comments by LeBron James. And to be honest with you, I loved what he had to say. He said he would be upset if he won the MVP in a losing team because he didn't come here to win the MVP. He came to win the big prize.
I would give LeBron James the MVP right after the third quarter.
And again, Smoking Jim has no respect. He's a prejudiced man.
Hey,
You can just read his prejudice every time he speaks about it. If he loves a player and he can't shoot the last shot, you'll never hear that. Never let the facts get in the way of any of your opinions.
Jim hit it on here because in the fourth quarter of Sunday night's game, LeBron put up an egg and
did
Steph
you hear what
Curry
he
put up
said?
17 points.
Did you hear what he
Let's not
said?
lose sight of that.
He said he was gassed. He was gassed.
I
He
don't know about
admitted.
all that.
He said he was gassed. He was out of any juice.
As we wind down, that game tips off at 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. If any of you guys on Cleveland could step up, man, and force this to a Game 7, it would be awesome. So far, we've been treated to a great NHL playoffs, and right now the NBA
Well,
Finals
with-
is living up to the bill.
With the NBA, just real short, I'm glad it wasn't in 5. Smoking Jim lost another house. He was wavering on it after Cleveland looked strong. But he's back on board. And that's it, folks. Chip, thanks for being here. Smoking Jim, thanks for your comedic relief, your sweeties. Zach Brenner, thanks for starting out the show with only 4 things. I appreciate it. And I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Thanks for watching us. I forgot to say we're at 4636 on the likes on Facebook. So, Jim Aj, I saved it for the end. You got to watch the whole show. Everybody, thanks for watching us on TV. And can you please pump up the YouTube viewership for Zach Brenner? He's got a contest going on.
Please.
Be safe. Stay Joey strong.